Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. So those keen eyes on the channel may have noticed that we haven't been putting as much competitive gameplay into our videos as previous seasons, and that's because me and Mysca haven't been playing as much this season in comparison to other ones. Mysca kind of stopped completely, whereas I played a little bit less but still played with the likes of one amongst many. And there are several people I can think of off the top of my head that have completely stopped playing competitive Overwatch because of the several problems that are in it. Throwers, levers, the matchmaking, decay, all of this other stuff. Before we get started, I'd like to know what you think of Season 5, why you thought it was terrible, any really bad experiences that you may have had, and whether you're looking forward to Season 6 as well. Let us know below and we'll get straight to this video. It was about halfway through Season 5 that you turned to me and was like, I don't want to play anymore this season. Not really.
Yeah, around there. Or maybe even a bit earlier, honestly, than halfway through.
So what kind of caused it? Like, I imagine there's a few things that are a number of reasons why a lot of people are going, I'm not playing anymore, the matchmaker doesn't seem to work, they don't like one tricks, they don't like levers, they don't like throwers.
Yeah.
For me in particular, I don't know if it's the same as you, the amount of these issues that I've seen have been minimal, to say the least. I haven't had a lot of throwers, I haven't had any levers over the period that people have been like, it's a big problem. Not to say that they're, like in lower tiers for example, there could be more levers because I think that's just a common trend. But I do want to hear if there were any experiences that you had that made you go, yeah, no, I really don't want to spend my evenings playing competitive Overwatch.
I think the main thing for me wasn't so much like one experience in particular that just sort of broke me or anything like that. I don't really have a negative attitude towards Overwatch competitive as a whole. It was just that Season 5 was the season where I was just like, alright, this feels a bit too grindy for me. I just can't like get myself to play a solid amount of games every week to, like, you know, not decay essentially. So I feel like I can't remember exactly where I calibrated this season, but it was probably around 3.4, and I probably stayed around 3.4, I guess 2 or 3 weeks I played. I barely played even. And then I just decayed down to 3k, and then I've been around there since. And it's mostly because I've been wanting to try some arcade stuff, try some quick play stuff. And then I kind of felt obligated to play those 7 games a week, because I would have maybe 3 days where I'd play a bit of quick play, 2 days where I wouldn't play Overwatch, and then I'd have 2 days where I'd have to play 7 comp games. And some nights I'd play maybe 3 and feel happy about those 3, but then not wanting to play more. And then the night after, if I wouldn't play those 4 games, I would decay, right? Eventually.
Yeah, and once you start decaying as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Point is that I wouldn't be playing 7 games a week because I felt obligated to, and it just felt too grindy. It just came to that breaking point. And yeah, I just didn't play enough, started decaying a bit, and then when I started decaying, it started to feel like, alright, now that I started decaying, I might as well just not care too much about my my SR this season. So I didn't, and I played PTR, comp, PTR, quick play, arcade, and so on. And yeah, it was good. I enjoyed a lot of the free-for-all, especially like deathmatch was a great addition, and then arcade instead. So that sort of became Overwatch for me.
I don't necessarily agree when people say that Overwatch is becoming too casual friendly, but saying that the new game modes, like elimination that they put in Anniversary, certainly the deathmatch, Lucio Ball, that they kind of want to take some of the pressure off competitive, and I feel like that's the overall problem, is that when Overwatch came out, I mean, we've been playing this game almost 2 years now, there were a lot of issues with it, sort of problems that stemmed over time, but people's tolerance to it was fairly high. They were like, okay, yeah, there's a couple of buggy things happening with this hero, but it's okay, you know, the game's only been out 3 or 4 months, like, it's fine. The new competitive system that they had, that they put in Season 2, had a couple of problems, but again, it was fine. At this point, as soon as something feels bad, people are just sort of fed up at the point that something comes into the game and like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Yeah. And I think that's a natural, healthy thing to do. I think, like, you know, we play a lot of Overwatch because, like, it's our channel, it's what we do, but there's nothing wrong with taking a break from competitive Overwatch. It's not like a sin, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing a bunch of other games as well here and there. So rather than just playing loads of Overwatch, or maybe playing a lot of Overwatch and a lot of one other game, I've been maybe like sort of juggling 3 games, and one of which has been Overwatch, which probably hasn't gotten as much playtime as some of the others. But I would definitely say that, like, a lot of it in my scenario doesn't have to do with a particular bad experience, me being one upset with like one tricks or something like that. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It doesn't have anything to really do with me being upset at how competitive works in itself. It's just that it's been a bit too samey for me. Around Season 3, I started to feel like it got a bit grindy because of the meta. I sort of worked through that. I think it was in Season 4 where I hit my peak, but it was fairly early on, of around 3.8 or something like that. And I had a lot of fun playing around that time, but after a while I felt like it got too samey. I didn't feel like the meta changed enough for it to be interesting for me. So right now we have a lot of like balance updates, maybe every 4th week I'd say. There's like some sort of balance made to the game. Every 5th week maybe, it's not that often. I'd rather have more balance changes less often, so maybe every 6 or 7 weeks. So we can sort of spice up the meta a little bit more all at once, rather than just have this sort of slow change of the meta, which for me, as someone who plays, you know, obviously not all heroes, because nobody really does, you sort of get stuck on some heroes and then you play those heroes over a fairly long amount of time, to be honest. And then maybe there's a change to that hero for you that makes it, you know, easier to play or makes it harder to play. And then sometimes you switch hero, but a lot of us stick to similar heroes at least throughout a lot of the seasons, because the game just doesn't quite change a lot all at once. It's all sort of slowly over time, and I think that's what's made me feel like it's a bit of a grind. And I think these new competitive changes will definitely change my way to look at competitive, because seasons will be shorter, like a lot shorter. Like 1/3 of it is just gone. And then also the new decay system that's just, you know, punishing you a little bit less will make me feel like I can play Overwatch when I want to, and I can play a lot of it when I want to, but I can also take a little bit of a break, at least a few days, and not be punished for it at all. But I'm looking quite positively at it, and I hope to really get back into competitive in Season 6.
Like, in my opinion, ever since the Roadhog controversy of completely shutting him down as a hero, Blizzard have been pretty spot on with how they've approached stuff. They've sort of ticked everything off of the box. A new kind of game mode that people can get into, much more open about changes, more developer updates about competitive. We had that the other day. But the changing meta as well, with all of these heroes coming in, really for me felt that it couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah.
Blizzard are really trying to sort out this issue. But the question that I kind of want to ask is, you know, YouTube's a really good example of this, where people talk about, oh, like, rip YouTube, it's the death of YouTube when changes come in. Do you feel that that aspect of competitive Overwatch hasn't helped either, with people saying that, like, oh, this is the worst season, the game is really bad? Me myself, I never really had that impression that it was that bad, but do you feel that people saying stuff like that negatively affects everybody else? That it sort of passes on through that?
I kind of feel like people have said that over the course of almost every season but Season 1. Season 1 was just okay, let's see how this goes, try it out. Oh, coin flip isn't that great of a thing, let's fix that later on. And then Season 2 and 3 sort of came along, but even in like Season 3, you know, people were just saying that, oh, Overwatch competitive is terrible now, look at all these tanks, it's not fun, they need to fix placements, or they need to fix this and that. Ever since then, I kind of feel like every season has been the worst season, so to say, which I don't think is true at all. I think a lot of the experience for every season has a lot to do with, one, the meta, so like well, not necessarily just the meta, but which heroes are a little bit more favored than others at least, and which heroes have recently been nerfed or buffed. Because depending on what you already play, you might have a good time, you might have a worse time, and for me in particular, I feel like I've been right in the middle there. I haven't had a worse time or a better time, like necessarily because of buffs and nerfs. Maybe a bit here and there, I've definitely noticed the difference, but the heroes I've played have stayed relatively the same. They haven't changed. I've played Zarya since Season 2, I played Lucio since Season 1, and I played Ana since Season 2 or early Season 3. So, and those heroes have stayed with me for quite a while, I'd say. Those are sort of the defining heroes, at least for me, and the heroes that in which games I remember. So when I play Ana or Zarya or Lucio, I tend to have memorable moments because I really enjoy playing those heroes. But because the meta hasn't changed much, that's what really has affected me, and I think that's what affects a lot of people. Now that, of course, together with toxicity and all these other factors that people talk about all the time in connection with competitive Overwatch, I feel like are definitely relevant, but they sort of come and go and are definitely very much down to, you know, one experience here, one experience there that can ruin like a whole session of games, you know? There are games where you might have won and it might have been a bit of a mediocre game that you're never going to remember, and then you have maybe 3 more of those, and then right after that you have 2 losses, in which the last one you have someone just throwing because they're upset at someone else on your team, you know? And then that session is ruined, and then that sort of is what I think sparks this, this just, I guess, massive just tweets and Reddit posts and so on, talking about how comp is just not fun anymore. And a lot of it is an overreaction, but it is, like, people definitely have a point. I just personally feel like the way the game is updated has a lot to do with the, like, you know, at the rate of which you enjoy competitive play.
I think towards the end of this season was where I started actually seeing a lot of these problems for myself. The fact that I had somebody on my team that was like, give me Doomfist, or I'm just going to play Tobian and throw, it didn't stop me from playing. In fact, it just sort of made me go, oh, well, just go into another game. Like, it's fine. It's annoying, but like, it's not going to stop me from playing. I do have a massive disconnection with the rank that I'm at currently. I used to care a lot with where I would be, but as soon as decay comes into it, you just stop caring. As soon as I started decaying, that was it. I was just going to leave it until I went all the way down to 3k, because you kind of hindering and handicapping yourself. So, oh, well, I'm not going to try then. I'll just won't bother playing. Not to mention, we've also been like away a few times as well. That
exactly.
You kind of prepare. We're gone for a certain amount of time. We're gone for like 4 days or a week. That means we're going to decay, so let's not bother anyway. You kind of have it when you like go to the gym. You might go daily, and then you'll have 1 day off, and that's it. You won't go again for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And even then, it's so much of a commitment to get into it.
I really don't want to go on about it too much, but in a lot of other games, I feel like whenever there's a new season, or at least a lot of time when there's a new season, there are maybe mechanics updates to the game and other things like that that sort of spice it up just a little bit and make it just that bit different, that make you play the game for just a little bit longer. Maybe not the whole season, but at least a lot of it. I think MOBAs do this a lot, where they change some mechanic a little bit, they tweak maybe some maps a bit if they have different maps. They tweak some heroes or some mechanics of a lot of the heroes in a way that makes it just that bit more interesting. And whilst it might be a bit easier for MOBAs to do that because of items and so on, and they just have more stuff to play with like that, and more mechanics and more effects that they can change, and by doing that sort of create a butterfly effect that just changes the game as a whole. Overwatch could definitely be doing that. And I'm not sure if the devs are afraid of changing the game more, or if it's a matter of just, you know, a direction that they've chosen to take.
Yeah.
But that's definitely like something that I feel makes the experience just that bit more stiff. And yeah, I hope Season 6 is better. I really, really like the changes, like again, that they've sort of listed in this latest developer update. Looking really, really good.
What I like is the fact that they just said something, that they actually came out and said, we want to make this experience better for competitive. We're still here. Yes. We're still listening. Don't worry. Because my major issue, I feel the major issue with Season 5 is that it was a complete continuation from Season 4.
Yes,
there was no meta changes.
Exactly.
There was no changes to the system, other than like the changes to Assault, I guess, was in that 6-month period. But it felt like a 6-month season.
Yeah.
I remember the placement games that we started with this season, but I constantly think that it was the On the Crisis one where we had Style playing Bastion, but that was 6 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
It's 3 months ago that we played with Mist instead, and it's such... like, it doesn't feel that there was any set period.
Yeah.
Triple Tanks feels ages ago because so much has changed within the game, but it was still dive for Season 4 and Season 5, and with no changes to report system until it felt as if they had to do something. Changes to Assault, again, it felt that they had to do something. I do like this idea that not only are we getting all of these changes with Season 6 in particular, we're getting a lot of changes to certain heroes, and as you said, it really starts off the season as right. The game is completely fresh. You have players in Envious Taimu was sat with doing a little sort of documentary of them starting scrimming again, being like, we don't know what to do. We don't know what hero combinations work. And that's the exciting part of it.
Yes.
I can't wait to play Season 6 and to see what works. And then by the time that Season 6 is over, people have worked out what meta is strong. Hopefully by then there's some more balance changes, and you have the system of going into a complete new season fresh, trying out different things, the report system getting stricter and much more specific over time. That's the thing that I'm really excited for.
Yeah.
And it's more, Season 5 was just a dead time, I suppose.
Yeah.
It was a good time to take a break out of the game, really, and that's how I see it.
I think you put it very well when you said that it felt very merged with Season 4. Season 4 and 5 felt very similar in many ways. And
there was a 3-day break and nothing changed since then.
Yeah,
so,
and whilst those seasons, I don't think the length of the break necessarily has to have much to do with it. It's a good point. I do feel like a lot of it really had to do with the minor changes that were made that were kind of like, all right, these changes are good and all, and you know, Orisa was added. We had Doomfist as well more recently, and that's nice and all, but it just over these like 6 months essentially, it just doesn't feel like it was enough essentially. And yeah, sure, you can try and fix comp all you want, and I think what the devs are doing this time around is good, but fixing competitive as a whole is just not something that happens overnight either. And especially in Overwatch's case, you look at a bunch of other games like Counter-Strike, lots and lots of MOBAs, and a bunch of other games, multiplayer games that are very popular right now, and I don't think really a single one has just flat out solved the toxicity problems or lever or thrower problems. It's just not a thing. That just doesn't really happen ever. And whilst it can get better, I think focusing instead on the positive aspects and enhancing those positive aspects and finding those things that got you to play the game for the start, and then sort of, you know, allowing people even to enjoy those aspects again, is how you sort of revitalize competitive. And I do hope that Season 6 definitely does that for me. I'm not gonna say that, oh, if it doesn't, I'm gonna be gone from Overwatch competitive forever, because that's definitely not true. But it would definitely be a bit of a disappointment for me to not enjoy Season 6 and to feel like these changes to both the game and the system, but also heroes and so on, aren't enough. Like that would just really suck for me. But yeah, Overwatch competitive, it's always going to be an interesting one. I think there's always are a lot of problems to solve, but yeah, let's hope Season 6 is a good one.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. Do let us know again what you think of Season 5. What were the main problems to you? Thank you very much for watching. Do like this video if you want us to do more long discussion-y kind of videos. We haven't done a video like this for quite some time, so it was quite exciting to do it again. So let us know what you think. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.